Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight. We got a fun show for you today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Broncos roster. They finally have settled on their 53, getting a little bit of the practice squad. Plus, Matt Boyer is going to join me a little later on as we break down the first depth chart. But joining me in studio right now, the one and only Steve Atwater. What up, Hoff?
What's up, R. Edwards? Good to be here with you, my man.
It's good to have you on a snowy day here in Denver, Colorado.
Man, that's what we're here for.
I know, man. It's a dramatic change, but actually I'm kind of enjoying the cool weather a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the 53-man roster. I want to start with the offensive side. We'll go to the defensive side on the other segment. But first, on the offensive side, there weren't a ton of surprises. I think we had more surprises on the defensive side. Wasn't a ton of surprises. I think most of what we were having our eye on is who is going to make the roster on offensive line, if they were going to keep 9, if they're going to keep 8. And in the end, I guess on the back end of that, you got Calvin Anderson as an example of a guy making it. We knew Netane Muti was going to make it, but no Patrick Morris. What did you think about the offensive line and the depth there?
Well, I kind of like the depth. A little bit of surprise. Yeah, Calvin Anderson must have really impressed the coaches, and Lloyd Cushenberry winning that center position. I mean, I thought that's what would have happened there, but he had to go out and put in the work and know the playbook, learn the playbook, and he did an amazing job of doing that. So I know the guy can play. So I think our offensive line is going to be much better than we were last year in that area, and especially that interior. All three of those guys are extremely solid.
I mean, you're one of those guys that does bring up the offensive line often and your levels of concern, but it does feel like they've made some pretty significant they've invested in it a little bit more this year. Lloyd Cushenberry's the third-round pick. They brought him Graham Glasgow in the offseason. What do you think about the depth, though, because you did say goodbye to some depth guys?
Yeah, well, again, I mean, Mike Munchak knows the offensive line much better than I do, much better than you too, Ryan. You may not think so, but he knows a little bit better than you.
I have no idea what you're talking
about. When he makes a decision on guys, like I know that it's the best decision for this team. That the guys that they settled on, they outplayed the other guys, and that's why they're here. That's why you got Calvin Anderson. That's why you got Austin Slotman backing up those guys. That's why you got Netane Muti, who was drafted here. So,
hey man, Netane Muti, he balled out during camp.
Yeah, he's strong.
You like him?
Yeah, I do. He's going.
It's kind of amazing because they're kind of set at guard, but man, if for some reason they have to go to their depth at guard, feel pretty good about, at least in run blocking. Netane Muti is a run blocker, maybe one of their best. Honestly,
get his hands on you, it's over.
Pretty incredible. I'd be remiss if we didn't, while talking about the offense, talk about the path to the 53 for Jake Butt. And you talk to any person around this organization, any Broncos fan, there isn't anybody else that you could be rooting for as hard as you were rooting for Jake Butt to make this roster. The path through 3 ACLs to be able to get here, make the roster, and hopefully have an impact on Sundays, it's truly amazing.
Yeah, it gives me chills to really think about his story. And even going into camp, we were like, man, Jake Butt, he just hasn't been healthy, even though he's been throughout camp, man, he showed out. I mean, he really had a great, not only did he have a good camp, he had a great camp. I mean, catching balls all over the place, doing a great job blocking, knowing what was going on, hustling, doing special teams, the whole 9 yards. And I never saw him limp once. And to me, I'm like, we can't let him go, man. I mean, he's been with us for so long. He's developed here. We giving him chance after chance, and he continued to put in that work. I'm so happy for him. I'm so proud of him. And I'm looking forward to this being a breakout year for him as well.
I like the way you framed that because it wasn't. This isn't charity. He worked
his tail off for this.
Yeah, and he didn't just earn it because other guys got hurt or couldn't play. He earned it. He played well. So and sometimes camp does work like that, where guys get hurt and you just get the roster spot because everybody else isn't available to have it. But no, this is the case where the 4 guys that are on here, they all played well during camp.
We got ballers at that position. I mean, we got some bona fide ballers. All 4 of them could be Pro Bowlers.
Let's move on to wide receiver for a second, because this was a little bit of a debate coming into camp. But as camp wore on, this became one of the no-brainer conversations, and that Tyree Cleveland was going to make this roster. Great special teams player. We knew he had that potential, but he made this roster because he showed ability to do both. And he's also, as it turns out, a backup kick returner too. So he is the perfect example of a guy that basically, hey, whatever you need me to do. And I remember interviewing him before camp started. He said, I just want to show the coaching staff that whatever they need me to do, I can do. Caught dang near everything thrown his way when he was out there on offense. Played great as a gunner. I saw a little bit of that again. And special teams during training camp is a little bit of a mixed bag, what you can really get away from it. And then, of course, also showing you're a backup kick returner. I mean, he's the perfect example of a guy that did everything they could ask.
Yeah, he's a guy in the Rod Smith mode.
Yes.
The Mark Jackson mode where they said, that's what Rod Smith, man. One of the greatest things he said is like, dude, I wasn't a wide receiver. I was a football player. And that's what Tyree Cleveland, he's a football player. Whatever the coaches need him to do, he's going to do it. And he's a really good receiver, too. I can't say great just yet, but what I've seen, I've really liked. He's got great hands, running really good routes, and I love the passion that he plays with. And that's gonna help this football team. And the coaches saw it, the teammates saw it, and it's going to be exciting.
You touched on something there, though, with Tyree Cleveland and how he earned the roster spot. Kind of like Jake Butt we were just talking about a minute ago. He separated himself out. We came into training camp wondering how the back-end receivers are going to be able to separate themselves, and he did it basically at every single opportunity he had.
Yeah, it was really fun to watch him come in, watch him run down on special teams, do his thing, make great catches. He had some wide-open catches that he made. He had some contested catches that he made. He's a guy kind of like Rod Smith, Mark Jackson. You know, I remember having Rod Smith on the show out on the stage, and he said, I'm a football player. I was a football player. I wasn't a wide receiver. That's the same thing I saw in Tyree Cleveland. I see in Tyree Cleveland, he's a football player. Whatever the coaches want him to do, he's going to do it. He's going to do it full speed. He's not going to ask any questions. It's going to pay dividends for him.
I'm with you. No other real big surprises as far as the offense goes. 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs. You had a fullback with Andrew Beck. But there were surprises on the defensive side, and we will get to those when we come back on Broncos Country Tonight.